So, good evening, everyone. I'm thankful that all of you are here to listen to me. So, as the session is already introduced by Kajol, creating a school profile, crafting effective recommendation letters, and key components of transcript, and how to submit these documents on Common App is the topic, and we have like four things to cover up. So I will not take much of time. I would like to use this time with you all to present the session. So when we say, the first thing has come, what is a school profile? So school profile is a document portraying the school and graduating class, which includes a lot of information about the school, contact details, what curriculum is followed by the school, and it has a school logo or crest or motto and the mission and ethos of a school. So it gives a lot of information about a school, but please ensure that yes, this is not a document which is used for the advertisement, because that is the school prospectus, that is the brochure. But a school profile is a document which is giving information to universities to understand your school so that they can understand the context, when you have the other documents submitted for students. Your school profile can have CEB code, which is given by College Board, if your school has that. If it is not to worry. And the other codes can also be there. Maybe, you have your school has some code given by the state government, or, by CBSE, or by Cambridge, or by IBO. So those, codes can also be listed with CEB code. Then the courses which are offered in high school, grade 9 and 10 and grade 11 and 12, what courses are offered in this school, what is the class size, and what is the background of, these, what grades and score distribution are. And if your students have taken a standardized test, then, those can also be displayed. And it is always good, if those can be given as a, uh, as a not as the only the content are there, but it is better that you have given some graphical display. Now my screen cannot be shared, otherwise I would have shown that the school profile I have put in up on my presentation for you all, which speaks a lot of graphics, so that when universities look at these, they look at they need to glance it, and in a glance they should understand what a school is, because they cannot spend more than 10 to 15 minutes on on an application of one particular student, because it's highly competitive and they receive a lot of applications. So that way it should help them, and listing of university destination where your students are going. And this document is used by universities to evaluate the students in the school context. So please remember and bifurcate this, that it should not be used as a advertisement tool or document. And this is also used for the advocacy for your students. And then we move on to the next, document, which is crafting effective recommendation letter. It's a very, very important document, when you submit. So we need to understand that it provides the opportunity for us to, convey a student's character and personal qualities and test score or grades, because those things are not alone, reveal only through transcript or the other things, So the things which they cannot see in the transcript, which things they cannot see in, the standardized test score, we need to advocate our students through recommendation letters. A great opportunity for us to advocate for them. But there is also, like, when we talk about recommendation letters, there are two sort of recommendation letters. One is the counselor's recommendation letter, which plays a pivotal role in the application process. And for students with, mediocre or to low score college admission test, and your honest assessment of their potential success in the college can tip the scale in their favor, how those are written. Whereas the teachers' letters of recommendation are intended primarily to convey the teacher's classroom experience with these students, giving colleges an idea, how these students are likely to perform academically. So they pay a lot of attention on academics, like, how the students are performing in the class, maybe, on individual projects, or, in group projects, or maybe peer, projects, how they are actually supporting their peers or not, whether they are challenging themselves outside the classroom also. Have they taken any outside classroom, challenges? Maybe they would have taken some Olympiads for that particular subject, or maybe they have done some research, related to that, or maybe they would have done some internship related to that, but that's subject specific. Teachers can write, whereas the counselor can write, the holistic recommendation letter, where the counselor would be providing like a student as a packet, like, how that student is a good student, and they're advocating for them that this can bring these things to the community of college, like this, and what are the interest areas and skills of the student, what outside this school the student has done, or within the school also, what clubs and activities the student had participated, what leadership activities, student had, what leadership role the student had, what the student has done maybe for arts or for music or for sports. Everything can come up in the counselor recommendation letter, because this is holistic letters of recommendation letter, whereas teacher is meant to provide a broader view of the student academically. I hope that makes sense for you. So, and then also when you write the letter of recommendation, it depends, some counselors, they have a very small caseload, whereas the other counselors, they have a huge, caseload with them, that, they have to write maybe, 50 students, 100 students, they are applying, and they need to write of letters of recommendation for them. It becomes a little challenging. So, then it is difficult for them to meet every student, one by one, to better understand them. So in that case, they can take the help of certain documents, which they can actually, make questionnaires, and they can submit those to students, that, okay, complete these and submit it to me. Those could be, self-assessment, those could be peer assessment, those could be, that information gathering from the parents, or from teachers also about the students, so that you can have that basic information. And further, then you can interview your students also, if you have a large caseload. When you have gathered all this information, then you need to put this information all together. And when you are putting this information all together, you need to ensure that it is a very clearly written and informative assessment that brings the student to life for the admission staff members who read it. When they read it, they should actually visualize this. So it is like, show it, not only tell. And they start, when you are starting it with the, start with an image of the reader, that the body of the recommendation letter develops, wherever possible, include the anecdotal information, that is like, specific references or examples you are giving. If you say like, you find the student is empathetical, so give the example that, what, when, where you found that, you feel that a student is empathetical. Did you see like, the student helped someone, how, like maybe on the road, or in the school on the staircase, or maybe in the playground, you observed these things, or wherever, like in your interaction you found it. So give those anecdotes or examples, that helps that, and that gives the context, what you are saying. It is not just you are labeling all the, adjectives about the students. Provide an overview of the students, including academics, but don't talk too much about academics, because that has been spoken by the transcript, as well as by the teachers who have written the letters of recommendation letters. Then about the extracurricular activities, maybe volunteer or community services, and that is show that how the student has succeeded in high school, and also that the, how the student has stood out in some ways. Explain why you think the student is a good match for a particular college. Though of course you're not writing the, particular college like name over there, but still, how do you think that, this could be very good to your college community or university? And then especially important, these becomes too important, like for the students who may be at borderline, or maybe, who are applying for financial aid, or who are meritorious student applying to, highly competitive universities, highly selective universities. And these support them, and whatever they have written in their, common app, in essays, in activities, it actually supports that, it validates that information. So that's very important. And then conclude this with a nice paragraph that conveys the strength of your endorsement. And finally, proofread it, that yes, there is no error in your writing, because not only the student is assessed on that, to some level, like it is taken as like, you are presenting yourself also. So ensure that yes, finally you are signing that, your name is going. So proofread that. So that's very important. Then comes like, transcript, which is very important document. And when we say transcript, what it is actually an official record of the student's work, showing courses taken and grades achieved over time. When we say over time, that doesn't mean like, from grade 1 to like, 11 or 12. No, it should have only high school, because universities are concerned how the student has actually taken the courses in the high school. When we say high school, grade 9 onwards. So you should have like grade 9, grade 10, grade 11. By then you have these data. And, if the students are applying for early decision, early application, you might have only this data. Or maybe if your school is on quarter system, you may have quarter one record by the time the students are applying, like, because I'm working with the school, we have international curriculum, and international curriculum schools are open in the month of August. If your school was open in the month of April, like if you have a CBSE or ICSE and ISC school, that school might have opened earlier, and you might have maybe, some more data than what, we have. So you may have some recent data for grade 12th also to include in the transcript. So it is very good to put up all that, and it should be very well clearly mentioned, so that when they are looking at, they can see that, yeah, whether that is an onward and upward graph, or somewhere it is going down. So it should include, school detail also, student details, student subjects, and grade over time, with the school stamp and authorized person signatures also. That could be your school principal, or maybe coordinator or vice principal, whosoever actually signed the official document. And this should have date of birth also of these students. It should have the graduating class size also. You need to include a grading scale also, so that it should give the context also. If you have put up like A, so what does A stand for? If you have given A star, what does that mean? Or if you have given in number also, say like, in IB we use, 1 to 7. So what does it mean? So we need to have the grading scales also given over there. If you include like, GPA, that grade point average also, if that is applicable to your school, then you need to put up that as well. And explanation of any say like, sometimes the student keep change subject also in between, like, it happens with my student also. Like someone has opted for, maybe like, mathematics AAHL, and then later they find that, oh, this is difficult, I cannot do it, and I want to shift this to, I to math AASL, and I would like to take my another subject which is at a standard level to higher level. So if that change is there, then also we need to put up the note over there that yes, this was changed at this time, of the year, and that is how these two are different grades, maybe in semester 1 and semester 2. All that need to be put up over there. And there can be a, contact detail, because it should be on the letterhead. So then contact details, so that if there is any issue where they would like to ask, they can ask. Otherwise, yes, you are submitting a school report also, and the counselor contact detail is going there, as well as in the school profile also, the detail goes contact. So these are the essential points, to cover in the transcript. I've spoken about, school profile and transcript. So why these are needed actually? What evaluator actually look at? Why there is a need of profile and transcript and how it should be? It should be absolutely with clean grading scale, or anomalies or exceptions in curriculum is specific to a school can be put up in transcript or in school profile, and specific co-curricular activities, any note or any weight, say like in my school profile we have like the awards what we give, like citizenship award we provide to student, effort grades we provide. So all those things we have put up in our school profile, and you can always look at my school profile. This is available on BD Somani International Schools website, so you can check that how my school profile is. Okay, and counseling office contact details also, placement, performance scales, and absolutely these two documents are very important. So we need to ensure that these are non-clutter. Whereas we have transcript, which is more of the content are there, but in the school profile, we can have a little bit more graphics also. So this is there. And after this, when you have your transcript ready, when you have your school profile ready, when you have your all letters of recommendations are ready, then how we need to submit these on Common App. Common application is a platform which is used, to submit the applications. Students do their job and the counselor do their job at their end, to submit the documents to US universities, and maximum US universities use common application. Okay, this is so when you are submitting on common application, please ensure that you are submitting the documents on official school letterhead, clean and clear scanned copies, or like PDF or PDF of the accepted size. Otherwise, you will face problem to upload the documents. And the packet will go like, transcripts, school profile, predicted grades, letters of recommendation, or if there is any other significant document you feel like, you want to submit it, it could be an external letter of recommendation. Maybe your student is doing a lot outside school for music, the student might have taken some dance classes, for 8 to 10 years, or maybe, 4 years, 5 years, or maybe the child is doing scuba diving, like anything, or playing, must have represented the country or a state, for any sports and games, or MUN, or anything like, outside the student has done. So all those significant documents can be submitted on Common App. And if you are using the other electronic portals, like my school, we use CIALFO, some school use BridgeU, some use Naviance, or some use Maya Learning. So all these documents can be submitted through these portals also, which is easy, and Common App is also very easy.
Let me give you a little bit of background on myself, and then we'll delve into the information. But I wanted to share, I've worked at 3 different universities in the United States, an Institute of Technology, a business-oriented school that had all business majors, and now I work at the College of Charleston, which is a public liberal arts university, medium-sized school, about 10,000 students, and we receive about 30,000 applications per year. So I say all that to share that I do have a lot of experience with how different types of universities within the United States review applications, but I also, with that perspective, understand that we all kind of do it the same way. We may have different ways of reviewing that are unique to us based on the programs that we offer, our different selectivity thresholds, GPA, test score requirements. But besides that, we all look at applications very similarly, I would say. Okay, so what I had planned to do is I wanted to log into my Common App account and kind of switch back and forth, and I'm not going to do that now, but this presentation has been laid out so that the main areas and fields that the Common App asks the student for, I've highlighted the specific things that US universities look for and question within those fields. I do encourage you to really, I know you all have Common App accounts at this point, I assume, I actually have my own personal dummy Common App account where I can log in and see exactly how it looks to a student, because I get a lot of questions from students. What does this section mean? How do I answer this question? And then I can go in and see exactly how they see it and be able to answer their questions correctly and accurately. I really encourage you do that as well. You can also add different schools to your Common App dashboard and again, see how a student views it and see that there are specific questions that each Common App school has. And that often shows, exactly what they're looking for and priorities that they are placing on certain information. Okay, so let's start with personal information. So we all ask for the basic information about the student. And all of this is to determine a background of the student and any special information that or circumstances that we should be aware of when we're reviewing more objective parts of the application. Now, I want to point out the last three bullets here, or sorry, the language and geography and nationality bullets. These are very important, especially for international students. And the Common App will ask very specific questions about language proficiency, how many languages a student speaks, and how proficient they are in each of them, and what their first and native language is. And then geography and nationality, that shows us what citizenship or multiple citizenships they have. And that is how we determine if they're an international student in the US, that they don't have dual US citizenship with another country. They don't have US citizenship at all. So for language, especially for applicants from India, very often, they are very proficient in English, if it may even be their native language. So I will share how my current and previous school looked at language, because this is something that is different at every single US university, proof of English proficiency. How we determine what the students' first and native languages is what they put on the Common App. So my last school and my current school, if the student puts English as their first and native language, that exempts them from any form of proof of English proficiency. Now, again, every school looks at this differently. So sometimes schools will waive English proficiency if they've attended a high school where the language of instruction is English for all 4 years, things like that. If the curriculum is an IB curriculum, AP, we don't do it that way. We look at what the student's first and native language is. And even if they've attended a US curriculum, an English medium of instruction, we still require proof of English proficiency. So that's an example of something that's different at every school, but also how important filling out accurate information in the Common App is. This question about disciplinary, it doesn't come up that much, but it is something that I found every school asks on their personal questions in the Common App. And this is just something I'm actually on a committee for at the College of Charleston, where we review all students that have had any disciplinary incidents at their school. And we ask that they explain what happened and submit any documentation of the incident from the school and proof that any sanctions or punishment that they received have been completed. I can answer any questions about that, but that is something that we do look at. Okay, transcript. So this is, I would say, the most important piece of information that we look at in the application. And again, this applies to all schools that I've ever worked at. This gives us the information about the student's academic ability and how they would be able to perform academically at our school. So first and foremost, we look at the curriculum. What classes have the student taken within the curriculum that's available at their school? I heard Manju talk about the school profile. That's really important information for us, especially for international students where the curricula is so varied and different from each high school and each country that we get applications from. So having a school profile that really tells us clearly and concisely what type of curricula they offer it could be multiple, honors, advanced level coursework, how the grading scale works, weighted, unweighted, all of that is really important in enabling us to fairly and accurately evaluate the student's transcript. We look at trends throughout the transcript. So maybe the student didn't do as well in 9th or 10th grade, but they really had an upward trend towards their junior and senior year. We like seeing that. Having a downward trend the other way is not ideal. Senior year classes. This is something that we really take into consideration. And I always encourage students, do not take your senior year lightly. We specifically look to see, we may not have grades from their senior year because if they're applying ED or early action, that's not there yet. But if we see that the curriculum is weaker than it has been in the past, or if there is a need for us to see their senior year grades, then we will go ahead and request it. So that would be in the example of maybe where they did well 9th and 10th grade and then dropped off junior year. We would defer, if they applied early, we would defer their admission to the regular cycle to take the time to request their fall semester or trimester senior grades. I want to point out a few things about transcript. Just one more thing, official versus unofficial. I don't have that on here, but that's a very common question that we get. I also heard Manju talk about the school report and submitting transcripts through that. So we consider any transcript official that's sent by the school. If the student uploads the transcript themselves, which most applications offer the option for them to do that, that's typically fine for purposes of completing their application and for us to review it. But if the student is admitted and chooses to enroll, then we need their official transcript, meaning it's been sent by you, by the school. That's how we know it's true and authentic. So watch out for that, just requirements of what different schools offer at what time in the application process. Okay, testing. So many schools, if not the majority of US universities, are now test optional post-pandemic. Very common question I get is, does test optional actually mean test optional? Will the student be disadvantaged in any way if they don't submit a test? Unfortunately, that does depend on each school to which they are applying. But in general, I do think that our motive behind being test optional is genuinely good, and that we don't want to disadvantage the students for not taking a test. That's how we operate at C of C. They're not disadvantaged for any scholarships or left out of consideration for anything like that. So just check with each school that they're applying to that maybe certain scholarships are not contingent upon submitting a standardized test score. For any of your students that may need proof of English proficiency, one thing to think about is that at many schools, sometimes the SAT or ACT can be a form of English proficiency. So if they want to take the test for that purpose as well, that would be fine. So if the student has taken the SAT or ACT, should they submit it? I always recommend look up each school that your student is applying to or have them do it and find out what is the average score range for admitted students at that school. And then, of course, if the student scores within that range, it would not hurt them at all. In fact, it would most likely benefit them to submit that test score. If they're below it, probably best to apply test optional. And you can see on here some of the things that we look for when the student does submit a test score. Okay, activities. So this is a very unique part of the US university application. I'd say this and the essay. And the general reason why we want to know all of this information about your student is because their activities and what they've done both in and outside of the classroom tell us or give us a hint as to what they may be like on our university campus. US university campuses are so residential and like little microcosms of society in themselves. They're little cities. And it is all about not only academic growth and learning, but also emotional and social outside of the classroom and in the residence halls, throughout clubs and organizations, all of that. So that's the why of why we want to know how many activities has a student done, How much leadership may they have had in these clubs and organizations? And it all boils down to this last bullet point here. Would they be likely to do this at our school? Because we want them to really make a difference and an impact on our campus through what they do outside of the classroom. Okay, I think this is my last one. So the essay, another, well, maybe a notorious part of the U.S. university application process. So there's so many things to say about this. This could be a whole presentation in itself. But this is in general what I wrote down here, what we look for when we are reading an essay. And it does boil down to what I said about activities and what do we learn about the student and who they are as a person beyond the numbers in their application, beyond the GPA, beyond any test scores. US universities are so unique in that we actually care about this. So I always tell students that this is their time to really speak to the admission officer that is reviewing their application and just make sure that their essay is about something that reveals information about them and not data about a topic that they're writing about. Okay, so I think that was the end. I did want to, oh, I'm sorry, letters of recommendation. So I will say I've seen a lot of US universities having this be a lot more optional recently. It's optional at the College of Charleston, but this information can be very helpful especially when a student is a borderline admissible student. So what you write here is really helpful often in putting a student over the edge in a certain way. I would never say that an admissions decision would be based on a letter of recommendation, but it's a great opportunity if you have a student that may have an uneven trajectory of grades or trends that don't really aren't immediately understandable, then this is a great place for us to learn your perspective of why this happened, maybe something that the student went through, especially if they, for some reason, have not shared that with us themselves in their essay or additional information. So it can be very helpful for us. And I know it takes a lot of time to write these. So when we do read them, we're very appreciative of the time you take. Okay, I think that was my last slide. Yes. Okay, so I'm happy to answer any questions. I think we're right on time.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. Information regarding iUniversity. We have two campuses. We are located in Madrid and Segovia. Despite we are in Spain, we are not a Spanish university as usual because all our bachelor degrees are in English. So, and we have a big population of international students. Around 80% of our students are international, so they are not coming from Spain. So you can have an idea of how diverse is our university, and that in the admission process, that is also something that really affects. Because as Tina was saying before, the point of nationality is something that we take into account, but because they are coming from many different countries with from many different educational systems and with many different backgrounds, they are well, it's something that we have to take into account when we have the admission process. So maybe you can move to the next slide. Sorry. Yeah, talking about the admission process, if you can go one again, I mean, this is a dynamic presentation. The first step in the admission process is the online application. We are part of Common Application, and that's why I'm sure that is quite interesting for many of the counselors that are here. So when they are applying to different other universities, They can also have the opportunity to select our campuses that we have, one in Madrid and one in Segovia. In the following slide, you will have a sample of how it is. And all our students, we are not test optional yet, but we give them the possibility to take our own online admission test, which now next week we are launching the proctoring online test. So they are gonna have the opportunity to take it 24/7 at any time when they want. And they have also an online assessment where they have the possibility to record themselves, so we can have an idea on their skills, how they communicate, and before knowing other things about that candidate. If you can move to the next one. Again, go again. Yeah, okay. So there you can see our own application form, because they can they can apply through our own application form, and they can also find the both campuses that we have, Madrid and Segovia, through the common application. Okay, so moving to this is, I wanted to share this with all the people that are here, because this give you an idea on how the applicants that we have are, and from which educational systems they are coming. The majority of our students are coming from the IB diploma. I don't know how many IB schools are here, but I'm sure that many. And also many of them are coming with the A levels. We receive many candidates from India that are studying in British educational system. So that's another, is within that other 30% coming from the European education, or with the their national diploma, or the, I mean, India, we know that you have 3 different educational systems, and the American high school diploma. I mean, the majority of applicants coming from India come from these educational systems. So if you move into the next slide, you will see that we do have minimum academic requirements, and we publish them on the website. So we say we are expecting to, depending on the educational system, we are expecting I mean, a minimum of 32 and on the international baccalaureate with an average of 36. In the American high school system, 3.2 out of 4. A levels, the minimum that we require is ABB, and on average we have AAB. And in the Indian system, the minimum requirement would be 81, between B2 and A2, and the average it's 85, 90. There you have also which are the academic years that they have to deliver. So if they are studying an educational, I mean, the Indian educational system, they have to present the transcripts from year 9, year 10, year 11, and their prediction. GCSEs, if they are coming from the A levels, all the high school years, if they are coming from the American high school system, and the year 11 and year 12, and their predicted grades when they are applying with the IB. Of course, when they are applying, if they are in the last year of their high school, we give them a conditional offer, and they will have to present the final grades when they complete their education. Academics, as Tina was mentioning, is very important for every university. So that's why we give like an idea of what they have to apply, and at least to be considered for the following steps of the admission process. Okay. And of course, because we are an official education in Spain, they have to also, to be officially enrolled, they have to present official documents that they will have to apostille and officialize in order to be accepted by the Ministry of Education. Regarding the language requirements, as I was mentioning, we have all the bachelors in English, and of course, Indian students sometimes they are not native, but they have they can have one of the waivers that we offer, because they normally they have a study all their education in English, so or at least the last 2 years of high school in English. If you have students coming from other regions, because we know that sometimes in international schools you receive students coming in the last years, you have to know that if they are not native, they haven't studied all the education in English, and only 1 year, for example, they should present the accepted test that you see there. Yeah. Regarding the second phase, then we, if they have all the requirements and we see that they are going to be fantastic students, we invite them to a personal interview. That is something different from other universities, because we normally interview most of our applicants, and then we give them our final committee decision. If you move, I can show you a little bit more about what do we also have regarding financial aid, because we have a lot of possibilities for talented students. Talent is something important, or very important in the university, academic and extracurricular also. And they can apply to different scholarships, but also from the admissions department, we nominate talented students that we, during the admission process, they really detect that are brilliant, and we want them to the financial aid team run them a direct award. So we make a proposal, and at the end of the presentation, well, if you continue with the following slide, I have some examples of Indian students that obtain different awards with those transcripts, very complete extracurricular activities, and with an amazing admissions process, so they could enter into the university with a scholarship, in this case, a direct award that is going to be with them in the following academic years. And that's another example and another one, and then so you can see that we have well, some Indian, very, very talented Indian students. And thank you very much for this invitation. You have there my email, so if you want to contact me. And of course, I'm open to any question that maybe I didn't cover. I know that I only have some minutes, so I hope I'm on time.